You are listening to the Hammersley Brothers e-commerce podcast. Like what you hear and want to take the shortcut on your e-commerce growth? Join hundreds of brands that work with us and head over to joinhb.com. That's joinhb.com and see how we can help you further. Join our members and smash your targets and unlock the profits within your e-commerce site. Hello, Ian. How are you?
Hi, Mark. Well, I'm well.
Good.
How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, just another week. Mum and Dad arrived today. Off your hands into mine. Go and pick them up.
Yeah, they've come. They're now your responsibility. That's an awful thing to say. They're not off my hand. I mean, they're still, a valuable member
I know.
of society.
I'm very much looking forward to seeing them. And God knows what state they're going to be in after being on a 19-hour flight. In their late 80s.
Well, last time when they 81,
pick them up in a wheelbarrow.
I had a text of them saying that the Emirates food lounge was lovely. They were having smoked salmon and drinking beer. And I think Mum was having beer, Dad was having champagne.
Nice. Yeah. So, I'll pick them up in a few hours and see how they are. I'll let you know. You'll probably be asleep by that time. Anyway.
I definitely will be.
What we thought we'd do today is like we said, we're going to go back to some of the earlier podcasts and revisit them and see how things have changed and basically what our focus was on back then and what our focus is now. And I think the third podcast we ever did, the first one we did was add to basket, right? We split that up into two parts, 1 and 2. And then we did the bounce rate. And the reason we did the bounce rate is because obviously a lot of people listening to the podcast would have gone, oh my God, my add to basket rate isn't at the KPI and how to dive into it. So we're just going to cover bounce rate today and talk about how it's changed. And it has changed a lot because people you can't even see bounce rate in Google Analytics anymore. Well, you can if you add it, but it's the engagement rate, isn't it? So let's talk through how it's changed and a little bit about our thinking around it. And let's get it done.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, it was an early topic. And just put it into context of why we talked about it as one of our early podcasts and why we're talking about it now is that if you want to improve your conversion rate, which of course everybody wants to improve the conversion rate. I don't think anybody who listening to this would say, I really don't want to improve my conversion rate. But we said that if you just say, I want to improve my conversion rate, it's like saying, be more successful. And it's like, how do I improve my conversion rate? What is it that I need to do? And we said, well, you have to break it down to those three parts, which was how many add to basket, how many go from basket to checkout, and how many go from checkout to order. But most of the time, the win was the add to basket, was trying to get the add to basket higher. And then if you broke the add to basket down, it was how many people land and how many people bounce. And that was where it started from. And the reason we started there is because a lot of the paid traffic now, and it was 5-6 years ago, it's still the case now, a lot of it's still landing on the product page. So for Google Shopping, for example, and any product carousel ads in Meta, they're all landing on the product page, most of them. And so they're landing on the product page. And so looking at the biggest landing pages by device, like mobile, for example, and then looking at the top 10 landing page and looking at the bounce rate, you got an idea of where the lowest hanging fruit was. So the idea of it is that if 80% of your paid budget is going to product page on mobile, and it's these 10 products, and you focus on the bounce rate, it's like the tip of the iceberg. If you've got the bounce rate lower, you get the add to basket higher. You get the add to basket higher, you get the conversion rate higher. You get your conversion rate higher, you get your return on ad spend higher. And then off you go. You can scale. So that's why it's important. And the fundamental reason is absolutely right. But I think probably where we've talked more about in the last few years was really the first question is the bounce rate of what? Bounce rate of what? Because, if you get loads of people doing and having an SEO lead, if you've got loads of organic SEO, bounce rate will be massive. It'll be like 95%, 99%. And but we don't really care so much because it's free. We're not paying anything. We're really interested in the paid media. If you've got a Google shopping campaign and you have a bounce rate that is higher than our benchmark, then we have a problem. Shall we talk about the benchmark? Because it changed, didn't it? The bounce rates changed. Because often...
Well, most people talk about engagement rate now, don't they? So engagement rate effective. Well, it changed. The weird thing was...
What's the opposite?
Bounce rate, it was the opposite. Engagement rate is the opposite of bounce rate. So if you had a 60% bounce rate, you'd have a 40% engagement rate. But at the same time that they changed it, they also changed the way they calculated bounce rate. So bounce rate used to be if someone came on the site and didn't do anything for they just were on the page, but they stayed on the page for 10 minutes and then left, that would be counted as a bounce. Whereas now that would be counted as an engaged user, because obviously people on blogs, they just come and they might just look at a video on it, or which might auto play. So they're not actually interacting with the page. And so therefore they're not a bounce user because they've sat there for 5 minutes watching a video.
Yeah.
So it kind of changed, didn't it?
Well, it changed. So the old stats in GA3, Google Analytics 3, was that the homepage should bounce less than 25%. But in the new GA4, it's 17. So that's where it averaged out. So if the homepage should have a bounce rate in GA4 of less than 17%, that's the average. The category page in GA3 was 55%. In GA4, it's 25. So this is just what we're seeing across the board as average. So the category, if they're landing on the category or collection page or product listing page, whatever you want to call it, it should be bouncing less than 25%. And if it's the product page, then it should, in GA3, it should be bouncing less than 60%. But in GA4, it should be bouncing less than 35%. So that's the default. And that's probably the one to start. We tend to find that the bounce rate is a problem on the home page or the product page. They're the ones that I really look at, because there's a lot of people that still land on the home page, but the majority of people, if it's a paid, some people are driving people to the collection page, fine, but most people they're driving people to the product page. So if that's bouncing more than 35%, then you might want to have a look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the start. Where you prepare.
Let's think about people on the level 1 program and then people on the level 2 program. So people on the level 1 program, mostly getting started and kind of understanding bounce rate and engagement rate. So how is it useful for them? So useful for them is that when you're starting out paid for the first time, you don't know whether you're getting good traffic or not. So there's, you can either, if you've got a very high bounce rate, it could be one or two things. It could either be that the traffic you're buying is just crap, right? Like it's just going to bounce. Like if you're getting bot traffic and it's just really bad, you're going to have a ridiculously high bounce. And then the second thing is your website is bouncing. It's not passing the busy restaurant test, Domino, Hammersley Brothers.
Well,
Domino,
it might not just be. Sorry, just to go back a step. It might not be bot traffic. Okay, and on a very small, very rare scenario, we see bounce rates that are wildly high, and that can be a bot, but it's not in the general speak. It isn't like an everyday occurrence. If you have a high bounce rate, it tends to be that either the traffic is wrong, but it could be that it's they're looking for something wildly different. It could be a price point that your price points are way off. They're looking for sofas for $200 and you're selling sofas for $10,000. It can be that they're just completely in the wrong place.
Yeah, you might have just be buying the wrong. You might just be buying the wrong traffic. So, you sometimes see 95% bounce rates and stuff like that on some really bad traffic. Like you might have just gone and got some generic traffic and it's just bad, right? So either your website's utterly awful or you've got bad traffic. So the first thing is to make sure you're getting the right traffic. So obviously we talk about that. We train people in level 1 and level 2 to get the right traffic and all that kind of stuff. And I presume you've got methods, people listening to this, of getting the right traffic. So that's the first thing, is getting the right traffic. So assuming you've got good traffic and you know that those people are buyers, then the next step is kind of working out at the beginning what to get your bounce rate down to an acceptable level, and also to see some intent on the people that don't bounce. So like add to baskets and things like that, and clicking around the site and staying on the site for a bit more time.
I would say I had a scenario with a client who was on the level 2, an e-commerce brand in the UK. They're on level 2, and what they done is they were trying to push their Google spend, right? Trying to push the Google spend, and they pushed hard. They got the clicks through the Google Shopping, particularly, but their bounce rate just went up. They did, so they got the clicks, but the bounce rate went up, and so. Sometimes if you push the budget harder, the clicks don't go up, which means that you're getting a good impression share, and all that Google's doing is it's just taking your money. But if the clicks go up, if your traffic goes up, then and also, they're clicking through in Google Shopping. They can see the price on Google Shopping, right? So it's not necessarily price, but there's something then missing, and it shows itself in the bounce rate.
Because you could get PMax could go and do the display network, for example, which could have loads of clicks coming in, which are very, very low intent. And so you could understand that those people are just, like when we used to do the display network, we'd have control over all the places that we would get adverts sent. So you can still do that in the display network, but when it's built into PMax, you can't tell whether your ads are getting put on. It used to be called the game apps. So when you're playing a game on your phone and they put the links close to the button that you need to use, and then you go and see an ad because you accidentally see an ad, that's what you're paying for a lot of time. So Google's got huge amounts of these games that just get clicks that aren't real. Like, you don't want to go to that website, it just happens to go. So it's very low traffic, very low intent traffic. And in Google, when you were managing it, we used to get rid of it, and Google would constantly change the settings, so it made it more difficult to opt out of it, because it used to make a huge amount of money from it. Obviously, it doesn't make you money, but now it's in PMax. We can't see how much of it's being used on those kind of things, and it will tend to
keep things simple. Sorry, I'm with you, but to keep things simple, my story is a true story. Is that this particular business had increased their budget in Google Shopping, but they were not getting the ROAS was not going. The ROAS was dropping massively. Like, oh my God, we can't scale the budget. And if you break that down, essentially they're saying is the conversion rate is not in line with the budget, right? So just to stop you going down a rabbit hole there, just to keep things simple, Mark. That's what was happening. So budget's going up, conversion rate is not going up. It's staying, and essentially they're getting the traffic, and they're not buying. It was showing itself.
Conversion rate to stay the same, wouldn't you? In a good ideal world.
No, not necessarily. Yes, but in an ideal world, yes. But obviously, if you've got more pressure, it's great. We disagree, isn't it? But when you've got more pressure, you've got more people coming into the shop, you would expect that the shop's under more pressure, and that Google can't go and get exactly the same qualified intent to buy traffic. It goes out and it says, well, I'm not quite sure, but I think you might buy, so I'm going to let you in. But anyway, the upshot, the overall thing I'm trying to say is that they increased the budget, the ROAS plummeted, which basically means the conversion rate plummeted. And it showed itself in an increased bounce rate and a low add to basket. That's where it showed itself. And so then when you look at, okay, what do we do about this? Like, we know we've got to increase the budget, because this particular client, we said, you're only spending 3.5% of your revenue on ads. And it's really low. That's his MER, had a great margin. You have to increase your marketing spend because you're never going to scale. Your fixed costs are quite high. You've got to do it. And he's like, well, every time I try and increase my ad spend, I can't. The ROAS just falls through the cliff. And so I want to try them, optimize the site to get the most out of it. And the stat was bounce. So when you look at it from the bounce, it's like, well, what do you do? And should we talk a little bit about where I would start?
The only thing I want to talk about first, the only thing I want to add is that, like, people on the level 2, when they have a problem with bounce rate, sometimes they might have changed the traffic. And so they might be really obsessed with the bounce rate and conversion rate. And then suddenly go, oh, my bounce rate's gone ridiculously bad and my conversion rate's gone really bad. And sometimes that's not an issue because they might have changed their Facebook ads and started to do reach or awareness ads and landing page ads and things like that. So you've got to make sure that you are testing the bounce or the engagement rate of the same traffic, like for like traffic, because otherwise you could be completely different. And that's where I was talking to you about before, was like, if you had a shop in Chester and every day you looked at how many people were looking in the window and how many people came into the store, and you say, well, normally 50% of people look in the window come into the store. But if it was the day of the Chester races and everybody's walking past the store and looking in and walking to the Chester races and a huge amount of crowd, you'd go, oh my God, my bounce rate's gone down to like 5%. People looking in the store, only 5% of people coming into the store. And so effectively, that's almost like going out and getting a different type of traffic, on paid traffic. Or you might have like an SEO blog, or you might get featured in the news or something like that. Like, those are going to massively change your bounce and engagement rate on the site. So we basically, a lot of the time, like if we're looking at PMAX ads, we'll look at the bounce rate of PMAX ads, or we'll look at the bounce rate of Advantage Plus Facebook campaigns and things like that. We're looking at the same thing over and over. That's not fundamentally different. If we're comfortable with that, then we'll try and fix it. Then we'll try and work on it. And this is how we work on it. So you can now work on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for teeing that up. Yeah, but look, ultimately, we are concerned in the grand scheme of things. We're concerned with the difference between how much it costs to pay for the traffic and how much a customer's worth. So you're like, in that example that I've just mentioned, that level 2 client who came to me and said, look, I've increased my budget, my conversion rate's dropped, my bounce rate's gone up. My first question is, well, hang on a minute. How much should you be paying? That doesn't matter. Yes, that's going to happen. But, if your cost of acquisition should be £10 and you're on £2, why are you talking to me? Go take it to 10. However, in the case, we have a responsibility as an e-commerce owner. It's a two-pronged attack. We have to make sure that the traffic we're driving and the money we're spending to recruit a customer is right. We have to make sure that we give the customer the best possible experience on the front end of their website to get the conversion rate. The traffic comes in. Obviously there's a lot of moving parts there, but when they arrive, we've got to make sure. And anyway, so bounce rate is where it starts. That decision of bounce rate is where it starts. And it's a brand new customer. They've never seen your brand before. They don't know who you are. Always think like that. The customer doesn't care as much about your business as you do. They've never heard of you. They could buy from anywhere. You've got to convince them to buy from you. And it starts off with the busy restaurant test. The 6 dominoes of e-commerce. That positioning. Am I in the right place? When people land on this particular brand, landing on their product page, they're making a decision within a nanosecond. Should I invest my time here? Am I going to find what I want here? And can I justify spending my time here? Or should I go back to where I've come from? And that's the first thing that the human is doing. In a nanosecond, they've come from Google Shopping, or from Facebook, or from Instagram, where there is multitude of different things that they can click on. Look at Google Shopping. You've got all the ads across the top. Go into Instagram. I mean, crikey, you've got so much choice, and they've clicked through, and your immediate job is to convince them that they're going to solve that problem better here than going back to where they come from. Like, the overwhelming temptation is to go back where they come from. So if you don't get that busy restaurant test positioning correct, you're screwed. So let me give you an example. If I was selling, I think I said this example last week, if I was selling replacement fridge hinges, right, and I've landed on a page that's probably not quite the right product, what I'm going to write at the top is the UK's largest supplier of replacement fridge hinges, always in stock, always next day. That's what I'm going to show. I'm going to have that right high at the top, because people are going to go, oh, well, this is the UK's largest supplier of replacement fridge hinges, and I want replacement fridge hinges. I'm definitely going to find what I want. So there's a bit of that positioning and the convincibility test. Now, obviously, if you're not selling replacement fridge hinges, you need to understand what the primary motivation is for you. And there's a lot of work we do in the programs about convincibility tests, and we've done lots of workshops on it. But that's the first thing: is am I in the right place? Am I going to find what I want? The second thing is helping them find the right product, because what tends to happen is that people click through from Google Shopping and it's not quite the right product. So the second domino is navigational flow. And the biggest
not a dead
mistake,
end page, basically.
Not a dead end page. And so, let's say I've clicked on I don't know, the example we gave last time I think is still quite relevant. Let's say I'm in Google Shopping, I've gone and searched for navy blue cashmere jumper, blue cashmere jumper or whatever. And I've clicked through in a Google Shopping ad and I go, well, I quite like that cashmere jumper. I'm on a mobile, but I might like other cashmere jumpers first. So there's another massive temptation for me to go back into Google or back to wherever I've come from in Instagram. Huge temptation. So if I see a big signpost, breadcrumb at the top, big link that says view all cashmere jumpers, and lots of other products there, I'm much more likely to click through on my product page to see all the other cashmere jumpers that are similar, or I can see other products. They're the two biggest things that people fail at, and it depends on what you're selling. I mean, the example of a cashmere jumper is, obviously I want to see the other variants of the cashmere jumpers. I don't necessarily know if that's the one I want. It's like when you say it, it's very obvious. It's pretty, it's pretty fundamental.
It is, and
I don't think anybody could.
No, it's the first time I ever saw it was when I was personally looking for Gore-Tex hiking shoes, and I was on Google. I was on Google Shopping looking at Gore-Tex hiking shoes, and Google was giving me some Gore-Tex hiking shoes, but they weren't all Gore-Tex hiking shoes, and they weren't all quite right. So I clicked on a Gore-Tex hiking shoes, and I went onto a website, and then I remember the text was something like, you like these, would you like to see more Gore-Tex hiking shoes? And I thought, well, that's going to be a better selection of products than going back to Google, because it's a mixture on there. I'm not seeing all Gore-Tex stuff. Whereas if I stay on this website, I'm going to pretty much see a big selection of things like that. So,
well, and also, throwing that example, also remember that lots of people at the time did related products, similar products. Whereas a Gore-Tex hiking shoe, it's not obvious by the image that this is a Gore-Tex hiking shoe. It just looks like a hiking shoe. So having, in addition to the other products, to have that big signpost, that view all Gore-Tex hiking shoes, right high up there, was absolutely key. And it's the first thing that I'll go through in the product page checklist. I mean, if anybody wants,
and it's relevant for homeware, and if you look at Saatchi art, for example, art is so nuanced in that you don't know what people are going to like. It's because it's very much like, I like that or I don't like that. I don't know what art I like until I see it. And so you'll go on to Saatchi art, and Saatchi says, well, you like this. Would you like to see similar styles to this? Would you like to see similar works from this artist? Would you like to see similar genres? It uses that as a place to start.
How do you navigate we're trying to replicate what a customer would do in a physical store. Yeah. So how do you navigate an art? Have you ever been into an art gallery, a shop that's selling art?
Yeah.
Right. How do you navigate around that shop gallery?
You wander around. I think what you want to do is you want to emulate the best salesman in the world for that business. So if I was in an art gallery and there was the best art salesman in the world, and I walked up to a picture like that one behind me and looked at it, what would they say to me? And you go, oh, I see you like Sam Mather's painting. We've actually got a whole selection of Sam Mathers. Would you like to come and see that? They're over there. I can take you over there. That's what I'd like to be said to them. I'm looking at a picture. I don't know who the artist is. And they're going, oh, he's just released some new stuff. Yeah. Would you like to see that? Like, effectively, you got to think, well, what would the world's best salesman do?
Let me give you another example, right?
Yeah.
When was the last time that you went into a shop to buy some sneakers or trainers? If you're in America, I think it's still called sneakers. Basically, trainer, right?
Pumps.
I
don't know what they are.
You go into a shop, a shoe shop, don't you? A sports shop, and you see the trainers. And do you see one pair of trainers on its own, with everything else is blacked out, and you just see one pair of trainers? No,
you
don't.
They're
you
usually
see
around
all
the
trainers.
Similar
they're all grouped together in colours and styles, and men, women, all terrain, running, tennis, blah blah. They're all, and you can see them all, and you can go, oh my god, I like those. The equivalent of what a lot of people are doing online is essentially blindfolding people, and then taking them over to one pair of trainers and going, do you like those? And you go, no. And then you're putting the blindfold back on.
Think about the world's best salesman in sneakers. They would ask you what size you are. They'd go, okay, what size you are? Okay, given your size, we've got these, the very similar style to those, and they're all in that. They've all got all those in your size. So you would.
Well, I think the best salesman in the world, actually, I think would figure out, is this customer shopping by sport genre, by colour, by style?
Yeah, they'd ask you what you were going to use it for.
They would work that out.
Where you're going to wear it.
And they'd have multiple ways of finding that out, and that's what navigational flow would do. But basically, we're saying is fundamentally is that you can't plonk a product on a product page and think that they've got there through coming through your home page, through your category page, to your product page. They're often landing on that product page for the first time. And and it is a terrible experience often, and it's where the money is going. It's where our e-commerce industry is dominated by Google and Meta. They are the hurdles that we have to jump over. There's, whether or not we like it or not, the money is going into their pockets, and they are driving people often to the product page on the mobile. And so if you can understand how to improve the conversion rate through reducing your bounce rate and getting into navigational flow, that is the first thing that I would focus on if I'm trying to improve my conversion rate, is breaking it down. Where are they landing? They're all landing on my product page. That's where I'm spending the money. They're all on the mobile, and it's these top 20 products, and I'm going to focus there. That's my biggest bang for my buck. Basically, I don't think that's fundamentally changed since we.
No, I don't think it has changed. I think it's just. I think having taught this and then talking to people, I can see they got confused because they changed the traffic and they changed the way things were going, and then they weren't looking at the same things. And I think that was the only confusion with bounce rate. And then really it came down to, I mean, we've got more sophisticated with split testing, engagement, and positioning testing and things like that. That like we've done a lot of things above the fold. I presume you're going to go through some of it on the free workshop you're doing on Friday.
I've got a free workshop. Yeah, you've booked a workshop for me, and then
I think you've got about 400 people going at the moment, which might blow your Zoom account up. They won't all turn up. Most of the people are after the recording.
Halfway through, we're going to have to go and pick the kids up from school, and like dealing with these.
You just do it in the car.
Just do it in the school playground.
It should be good.
Yeah. No. Yeah, obviously I'll go and try and unpack it, and we will try and work it out. But logically, everything that we're saying here is common sense. But it's only common sense because we've sat there and done the same thing. Anything that we're saying should be like,
it.
well, that makes sense. How do we buy trainers and sneakers and pumps in a shop? Well, they're all you're all displayed in a big set. And am I doing that? It is all. I mean, the nuances, of course, are if you were selling differently. Sometimes you're driving people to the site; they're not ready. You need to warm them up in Meta first. It depends on what you're selling. But I always first thing would say is what would this be like if I was selling this product in a physical store? What would I want the experience to be like, and how would I want people to navigate around? What would be the reassurances?
What would be the process? What would be the flow of the buyer's mind about what they would be thinking first? What would they be doing?
And just remember that the temptation to go back where you've come from is so huge that, just think about that. Am I doing enough to just, the number one question is, am I giving people the reassurance that they can find what they want here? And just telling them, don't just assume, don't hide stuff down the, you've got to make sure, you might have to repeat things 4 or 5 times.
You're never going to get it to 100%. And I think that's another learning is that, like I was speaking to Hugo this morning about this, and like it's not, he sells dog food, right? So it's the dog food, and basically he's never going to convert everybody. First of all, on his first time customer offer, and he's never going to convert everybody who buys his trial pack to a buyer. But what he is going to convert more of are the almost buyers, the people who almost bought the trial pack, and the people who almost got the trial pack and then went for the full time. Those are the people that he wants to focus on, because like there's always going to be people coming into your funnel that they're just not right. They're never going to be right. And like you actually want to look at, like if someone comes on the website and they bounce within 30 seconds, like a lot of those buyers are probably just not right? It's the what you can do with the people who either they accidentally clicked on the website or those kind of things. It's those people that stay that you can kind of get to do more. It's like, because I think the almost buyers are the people that kind of like dither, and it's that dithering
well, they should have bought
that you
but didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we're not
reassurance
saying,
for the ditherers.
We're not saying that you should ignore you should only look at the bounce rate on the landing pages. But it's kind of the first place to start.
It's a good starting point.
Yeah.
It
really is.
The analogy we used to use was like you had a dammed river, and you had like a beaver dams a river, and you have like dam 1, dam 2, dam 3, dam 4, and the water's rolling from left to right. You wouldn't optimize the last dam downstream first. You'd optimize the first dam. You'd optimize the first dam first, because by the time you optimize the last dam, you're going to have a lot more water coming, and you're going to have a completely different setup further down, because you're going to have so much more water. So you wouldn't kind of like come onto a website where the water's only trickling through the 5 dams and then work on your checkout first, because the people that get to your checkout are the people who really want the product despite all the problems they've been through. And if you optimize for those, they can be very different people than people if you have a gush of water coming through from all the cleared dams. So that we go upstream as furthest upstream.
Doesn't a beaver build the dam? Not break the dam down.
No, but that's what I meant. The beaver builds the dam. They kind of build a few dams.
But what we want to do is break the dam, not build the dam.
No, we would break the dam we would break the beaver's dam. Let's talk about beavers a bit more.
Did you say beaver? Did I make that up?
Yeah, it is beavers. Yeah.
But it's a clever analogy, except it's completely wrong. Because we're trying to fight the beaver. We're trying to fight the beaver upstream. If we fight the beavers downstream, we're having a little.
Don't let the beavers win. That's effectively what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Attack the beaver.
Yeah.
You can put that on your Instagram. Real.
Yes. Oh dear. So so basically we go upstream and we optimize that first. And that's what we're looking at. And it hasn't changed. Effectively, we're still saying this. We're still saying the same thing in terms of bounce rate. Apart from we've got better at reducing the bounce rate over the 4 or 5 years that we've done it. We've got new techniques, new ways to do it. And if you want to learn some of those techniques, jump on one of our workshops, which we're doing. We do one every 2 weeks. You're doing a free workshop tomorrow. I do the paid workshops
tomorrow,
and
not tomorrow.
I'll be doing another workshop next week, which I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. It'll be something exciting.
I'm not doing a workshop tomorrow.
You're doing one on Friday.
Friday, actually, but when this comes out, it might be tomorrow. Yeah,
it might be tomorrow. Yeah, well, if it, hopefully we'll get this podcast out before it, and it'll be in the show notes. But people on our email list, I think they'll have seen it a couple of times. So there's quite a few people on there already.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see how many numbers you get, because there's a lot of people who have signed up. Obviously, when you charge for a workshop, you're going to get less, but you're going to get more people turning up because people have paid to be there. When people say, "Do you want to be on a free workshop?" They go, "Yeah, I'll sign up."
Yeah.
But
Anyway, we'll see.
We'll see.
It's going to be good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, the workshop's just like the podcast format is great, but like the workshop format just allows us to go into so much more detail and share things on a screen, and it's structured, and people can ask questions in a live environment, and that's why they work really well. So we're doing a lot more of those, and obviously a lot of everybody on our programs gets access to the workshops, and then they kind of tie in with all the modules that we're doing and all the coaching we do across everything. So, I mean, join us for 2025. We have some exciting things happening.
Indeed.
I've got to be more enthusiastic. My wife says I always look like I've just like lost a family member or something like as I'm talking.
I was just watching your Zero to Hero meta workshop course.
Yeah.
You did a module on the Zero to Hero meta, and it's brilliant. But yeah, you do look like someone's just passed.
I think what it is, when I'm concentrating, I like lose control. My face just goes, and I'm just concentrating on what I'm doing, and I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. But it's not. It's weird. That's not how I feel.
I put you on times 2, and I was still following every word perfectly.
To be honest, you're probably a lot more experienced than the average.
Well, I just wanted to see, what you'd got wrong, because to criticise you, basically.
Yeah, I did get some WhatsApps this morning.
Yeah, I did. WhatsApp. Yeah, you really cocked this bit up. Yeah. No, you haven't. No, it was just I thought you could have explained it in a better way.
I had trouble with my microphone, didn't I? And I had
the microphone effect. I said it was unprofessional.
All right. Well, we'll finish there, and then we'll keep going in the series, and hopefully that was useful to people, and we will see you on the workshops. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.